2024. This Council now becomes Committee of the Whole Council to consider the Public Health and Municipal Services Amendment Bill 2024. Members may refer to the appendix to the script for the debate and voting arrangements for the bill. Members have been informed that the committee will conduct a joint debate on the clauses and amendments, including the new clauses. I now propose a question to you that the following clauses stand part of the bill. Clauses 1 to 15. Secretary for Environment and Ecology will move amendments to amend a number of clauses and add the new Clause 12A. Members may refer to the appendix to the script for details of the amendments. Members may now proceed to a joint debate on the clauses and amendments. I will first call upon the Secretary for Environment and Ecology to speak, but he is not required to move the amendment at this stage. I will call upon members to speak upon conclusion of the joint debate. The committee will first vote on the clauses with no amendments standing part of the bill, then deal with the amendments in accordance with the arrangements set out in the appendix to the script. Secretary for Environment and Ecology. Chairman, I move amendments to amend clauses 5, bracket 5, 6, 10, 13, bracket 5 of the Public Health and Municipal Services Amendment Bill 2024 and to add a new clause. These amendments are proposed on the suggestion of the Bills Committee. Upon careful consideration, we have incorporated the views of the Bills Committee in the amendments to refine the implementation details and to better reflect the policy intent. I will go through the three major areas of amendments. Clause 5, bracket 5, recovering expenses for cleansing of verminous premises. Clause 5 provides that the authority may serve a notice of elimination of vermin on the person responsible for the management of the relevant premises for vermin infestation in the common parts of the building. If the notice is not complied with, the authority may undertake the necessary work to eliminate vermin and recovery expenses incurred. The bill originally proposes not to recover such expenses from the manager. However, members have queried whether manager includes an owner's corporation. To provide greater clarity from whom expenses should be recovered, we have amended the provision such that expenses will only be recovered from owners' corporations on which the notice is served. We've also explained to the Bills Committee that if the building does not have an owner's corporation, the existing provisions will allow the government to recover the expenses from all owners. Clause 6, disposal of articles removed, seized, or detained. We originally proposed that if the article seized is of a perishable nature, the FVHD may dispose of it immediately to avoid unnecessary storage cost. When suitable, the government will make a compensation to the claimant. In light of the Bills Committee's views, we consulted the trade again, and we've proposed the amendment as follows. Now the FVHD will not dispose of the perishable article seized immediately. Instead, the owner may claim for the return of the article within 48 hours after removal. As for non-perishable articles, the original proposal would stand, that is, a claim can be made within 7 days. The article will be forfeited to the government if not claimed in time. Clauses 10 and 13, bracket 5, time limit for complying with an entry request. The bill originally proposes the following. An owner-occupier who refuses the entry of a public officer authorized by the Director of Food and Environmental Hygiene to the premises for investigation upon receipt of the notice of intended entry without reasonable excuse commits an offense. The Bills Committee propose an additional provision to require an owner or occupier to comply with the request for entry within a specified time frame, such as 14 days upon receipt of the notice. To provide clear guidance to the public, we agree to make it an offense for an owner or occupier who, without reasonable excuse, fails to admit an authorized public officer to the premises or vessel within 14 days after the notice of intended entry was given or posted, or 14 days after the date of intended entry for any premises or vessel that is used for business purposes or as a workplace. Offenders will be sentenced to a level 2 fine, that is $5,000. Finally, in light of the Bills Committee's views, we will also move certain technical amendments to improve the overall clarity of the bill. Details of the amendments can be found in the committee stage amendments paper. I'm not going to repeat here. Chairman, I once again thank the Bills Committee for their invaluable views, and as well as their support for the amendments. I urge members to support them. Thank you. Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Chairman. I'm a member of the Bills Committee. I welcome the government's CSA. Now, many members here are not members of the Bills Committee, so I'd like to explain the rationale behind our advice of the government to propose this amendment. In 2023, another bill was passed to increase the penalty from $1,500 to $6,000 so as to address issues of street obstruction and improve street hygiene. According to the Secretary, there has been a 90% improvement, and yet there are calls for greater deterrence by raising the penalties. There are also calls for items to be forfeited to the government. So one of the suggestions is this. For items of a perishable nature, such as vegetables, fish, even dried seafood, if they are left in the street unclaimed for more than 30 minutes, they should be forfeited to the government. Now, I was a member of the Bills Committee, and I'm also a member of the Public Accounts Committee. So I was absent, I was otherwise engaged, but when I listened to the recording again, I was shocked. Imagine if we have a pallet of dozens of cargoes flown in from Japan, and if the person in charge wishes to go away for a bit to deliver goods for more than 30 minutes, then the whole pallet of cargo will be forfeited. And it is impossible for the cargoes to be, for the food to be donated to any charitable organization because of food safety concern. The only option is to send the cargoes to the landfill. Imagine how the shop operator will respond. How will they be able to make up for the loss? And sending the cargoes to the landfill will inevitably cause wastage. Another point I find puzzling is this. The owner of the goods can come forward and make a claim against the government, and then the government will make compensation to the claimant based on market rates. I find it perplexing. According to the government, over the past 5 years, over 150 operations were conducted to confiscate unclaimed goods. So there is not a high chance for items to be unclaimed, but in fact, some street vendors would put polyfoam boxes in the street with fish inside, and they would just cause street obstruction. And if that cost them $1,500 of fine, then of course they will not bother to claim the goods. And yet, after removing the articles seized will have to be kept in a cold store, and that also entails transportation costs as well. So instead of keeping the items for the claimant, the FEHD might as well make a compensation later. Members did not comment on this proposal, but imagine for fresh food coming into Hong Kong, of course they will sell better when they're fresh. And then say I'll do my best in selling them, but if the sales aren't good, I will just push the soon to be perished items into the street for them to be forfeited, because I can then make a claim and then I get compensation at market rates. Another puzzling question is how do you tell whether the apples are rotten or not? Who would like to speak? Mr. Peter Shill. Right, let me go on. How do you prove that the 20 boxes of apples are rotten or not? Do you use a camera to take pictures of each and every apple? There are over 1,000 apples. And then how do you tell the court what amount of compensation should be made out? How much will the administration be paying for the administrative costs out of the public coffers? So that's quite peculiar. Having heard the remarks, I immediately talked to the trade, including the fruit stores in Yau Ma Tei, the trade associations for the Chinese medicine shops in Shangwan, and the dried seafood trade associations, etc. Of course, they are astonished as well. They are also worried. I'd like to share this with members here, because there are suggestions that the Legislative Council is nothing but a rubber stamp. But that is not true. We don't just raise our hands in agreement with the government on everything. In fact, the fact of the matter is we have some very nice bills laid into the council, on the table of the council, and we don't need to spend a lot of time going through the nitty-gritty. But whenever there is a problem, I come forward and make my case. I talk to the trade and I speak on behalf of the trade. In fact, at the second meeting of the Bills Committee, I explained the request of the trades, and I also explained my rationale. I told the government that in fact it's really straightforward. If these are perishable items not claimed in time, then you can just confiscate the items. You can then put them in the cold store. You can ask the claimant to pay for the transportation and storage costs if it's just a matter of a couple of days. For perishable items like fish, then without doubt, the fish would go bad instantly. But there are also expensive varieties like gropers, etc., and red snappers. The compensation will be costly, so you should allow claimants 48 hours to claim for the return of the item, so as not to transfer the cost onto members of the public. I thank the Deputy Secretary, Ms. Law, and also Deputy Director, Mr. Yiu, for acting very swiftly. We have different trades involved, such as fresh flowers, fruits, dried seafood, Chinese medicine, vegetables, etc. Now, we had a meeting with the trades, and we do agree that 48 hours should be allowed for claimants to claim the items. If a claim isn't made, then the unclaimed items can be forfeited to the government. I thank the government for heeding our views. This is exactly what the government should do. There should be communication closely with the trades. We don't want to stir up troubles, but if there is a problem, you should make sure that this is addressed. Under your leadership, Secretary Mr. Jie, and also Deputy Chief Secretary Mr. Churk, well, the streets are much cleaner now, 90% of the problem addressed, and yet we should have regard to the business environment at the same time. We want Hong Kong to be clean and healthy. We also need people to be able to do business here. I'd like to put in a few good words for Deputy Secretary Ms. Law. Mr. Peter Shill. we're supposed to debate on specific clauses. I've allowed you to go for a second round, but you don't seem to be talking about specific clauses. You don't need to sing praises for different government officials and members. Please come back to the bill. Now, Chairman, because when it's a committee stage, we're allowed to speak for 5 minutes per round. Well, that is the case, but you're not allowed to roam free. You should focus on the debate and not to digress. You should debate on specific clauses of the bill. Well, Chairman, I think that my points have been heard loud and clear by members and the public. This amendment bill relates to the handling of perishable goods. The government has proposed an amendment. I've spoken at length about this amendment. I just want to say that the government has done a good job. At the same time, I want to remind other policy bureaus not to be stubborn. They should pay heed to other views. Right? You can remind these policy bureaus during the second reading debate, but not at the committee stage. Thank you.
You may press the button again, but if you continue repeating yourselves, I will stop you. Mr. Peter Shield. Thank you, President. I was saying, for perishable goods and non-perishable goods, they need to be dealt with separately. 7 days claiming period for perishable goods and for non-perishable goods and 48 hours for perishable goods. Mr. Peter Shield, you are repeating yourself. I finished, President. Secretary, would you like to reply? President, I thank Mr. Peter Shield for his valuable views. It shows the positive interaction and cooperation between the legislature and the government. I believe that the amendments, the CSA, will enhance the bill even further. Thank you. We now vote on the clauses with no amendments standing part of the bill. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. We now vote on clauses with amendments standing part of the bill. Please move the amendment, Secretary. President, I move the amendments as printed on the agenda. I put a question to you that the Secretary's motion be passed. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Clauses 5, 6, 10, and 13 is amended. I now put the question to you that the clauses as amended read out by the clerk just now stand part of the bill. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. We now deal with the new clause. New clause 12A, 6th schedule amended, name in which proceedings for offences may be brought under section 131(1). Secretary for Environment and Ecology, you may move the second reading of the new clause. Chairman, I move the second reading of the new clause read out by the clerk just now. I propose the question to you that the new clause read out by the clerk be read the second time. I now put the question to you as stated. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. New clause 12A. Secretary for Environment and Ecology. Chairman, I move that the new clause read out by the clerk just now be added to the bill. I propose the question to you that the new clause read out by the clerk be added to the bill. I now put the question to you as stated. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. All the proceedings on the Public Health and Municipal Services Amendment Bill 2024 have been concluded in Committee of the Whole Council. Council now resumes. Secretary for Environment and Ecology. President, I now report to the Council that the Public Health and Municipal Services Amendments Bill 2024 has been passed by Committee of the Whole Council with amendments. I move the motion that this Council adopts the report. I now propose the question to you that the Secretary's motion be passed. With those in favour, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Third reading. Public Health and Municipal Services